and as always, welcome to my home. Maxine Tate says, is there a birthday photo for Princess Charlotte? You read my mind. You read my mind. Yes, there is. And I'm going to give Princess Charlotte a very happy 9th birthday green fan flap from me. It is her birthday. She's 9 years old today. Can you believe it? 9 years old. It only seems like yesterday from when she was born. And of course, it is only a short time since we celebrated Prince Louis's birthday, and we did eventually get a photo for Prince Louis's birthday. Now, I explained this at the time of Prince Louis's birthday photograph being released, and I'll do it again for the benefit of those of you that haven't seen that video. Um, so normally, when there is a royal child's birthday, in recent years, so we're talking fairly recent precedent, uh, it has been the custom for the palace, Kensington Palace, to release a photo to the media ahead of the birthday. And that is usually embargoed until 12 a.m. on their birthday. Then it is released typically on social media, released to the press, ready so that it can make the online social medias, but also it can be printed in advance for the day physical print newspapers. Now, we saw a departure from that with Prince Louis's birthday photograph, and of course, they released it in the early hours of the morning. So we're talking, I don't know, it was released about 6 a.m., 7 a.m., possibly as late as 9 a.m. And I think Princess Charlotte's wasn't released until past 9 a.m. So, with all the furore that happened over the edited photo, I think William and Catherine and Kensington Palace has taken a very different approach. They are now not necessarily, guaranteeing a photo, or they're certainly not going to, I suppose, play into the hands of giving it in advance so that it can be ready for Princess Charlotte's birthday. Now, of course, this photo will be distributed amongst the media, and it will most definitely make the late editions of newspapers, and it's fairly easy to update it in terms of social media newspaper articles. But it probably won't reach the majority of physical print newspapers until the following day. So I do feel that this is a little bit of a slap to the media. It is a little bit of putting down, perhaps over how the media treated Catherine during during her absence, when, of course, she was recovering from surgery from cancer, which we all didn't know about at the time. But also, perhaps, for the sort of picking apart and the intense dissection and scrutiny of that ill-fated photograph that that William took and then Catherine edited. So I think this is a little bit of punishment and retribution. But I digress. I digress. What I do actually want to do is go and take a look at the photo, because it is really good. Now, this is a live stream. I'm not able to put photos on the screen, but I will edit this video and turn it into a standalone video for tomorrow, which I will include the photos in. I will turn this screen round and show you, though. So the Prince and Princess of Wales released via Kensington Palace. Happy 9th birthday, Princess Charlotte. And they put a birthday cake emoji. Thank you for all the kind messages today. And the photograph is credited to the Princess of Wales. So Catherine has not been put off from sharing photos, or taking photographs, if you like. So there we have a beautiful, smiling Princess Charlotte. I'll just hold it here so that you can see, and I'll talk about it for now. I mean, she doesn't look too dissimilar, I don't think, to what she did last year. There isn't terribly that much difference between an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, in my opinion. Well, certainly not in Princess Charlotte's case. I think her hair has got a little bit longer. Maybe she's coming into her features a little bit more. I love the outfit. I love that kind of red, no, not red, it's more cranberry, like a cranberry colour, mixed with the kind of what I still call the Cambridge blue, which has become kind of synonymous with the Wales family. They kind of tend to wear that blue, all different shades of blue when they're when they're out and about. But I love the mix of the cranberry. I think it's a very happy photo. The flowers in the photo are said to be one of the first flowers dedicated and named after Her late Majesty. So I think those flowers, the pink ones, are called Elizabeth. So it's a really gorgeous photo. I like the colour of her hair. It's kind of chestnut, but with kind of blonde natural highlights. It's a really lovely colour hair, actually. It's sort of half Catherine, half William hair, if you know what I mean. It's got those. It's almost two tone. I can definitely see the chestnut, and then I can see the kind of blonde highlights coming through. It's a little bit like my own hair, my loves, isn't it? So I think it's gorgeous. I think the pose that she's striking is very strong. I think it shows her character, her personality. I think she has a lot of personality. I think she's more akin, perhaps, to the Windsor female personalities. I can definitely see that um, she's got a bit of the Princess Anne's about her, hasn't she? She kind of, I think she's got that strong, independent female, a little bit tomboyish approach, and I think she'll be very no nonsense, no fuss, like like Princess Anne. So I love the photo. I like the little kind of ruffly top coming out of the jumper or whatever it is that she's got on underneath. The little touch of denim is very on trend, I think, and very youthful. Believed to have been taken at Windsor, so I think Adelaide Cottage. Yes, I'm really loving that photo, and I just, like I said, I can't believe that it's been 9 years. Betsy says Princess Charlotte looks so grown up. I still think she looks like Diana. I said that from when she was born, and a lot of people said no, she looks like Queen Elizabeth II. A few people said that she looks like her maternal grandmother, Carol Middleton. I don't think I can see Diana. I think she's inherited William's sort of jawline, and William got his jawline from his mother. So I think she looks very much like Diana. I think in the eye area, there's I can see Diana and maybe a little bit of touch of the late Queen. But children change as they grow older. But I've always seen Diana in Charlotte. Anomalous says, um, when do you think the next shift in the line of succession will be? Who will be affected? And when do you think the next royal baby will be born? And to whom? Well, okay, let's start with the next shift in the line of succession. So, the next, I suppose, shift in the line of succession would be due to the passing of His Majesty, King Charles III. And of course, when he ascended to the throne, nobody thought that we'd be thinking about, his passing. But in recent months, we have had time to reflect due to his cancer diagnosis and his treatment that he's undergoing. We've sort of come to the realization, I think, sooner than what we would have done otherwise, that he's not going to be around forever and that this line of succession is very important. And of course, with a line of succession, with a hereditary monarchy, we know where it's going to go next. So we know that William is going to be next. Now, we don't have a crystal ball. I can't look into the future with my goggles and predict how long King Charles is going to live for. That would be treason. I might find myself locked away in the tower. But no, we don't know. What we do know is that his parents, the late Duke of Edinburgh and Her late Majesty, lived into their mid to late 90s. Will King Charles live the same? I don't know. He's got 10, 25, 10 or 25 years left. So, William potentially could inherit the throne as early as maybe when William's 50, or it could be when he's 60, or it could be when he's 65. But I don't think William's going to inherit it any later than age 65. So I think that potentially is the time frame that we're looking at. It's a bit of an impossible question to answer. And I'm not going to go any further because I don't want to find myself locked away in the tower. Um, that would take a lot of explaining to do. Um, okay, when do I think the next royal baby will be born and to whom? Well, I think Princess Anne is done with having children now. The same for Edward and Sophie. I think that would be a bit of a miracle at this point. Um, I, I mean, potentially Zara and Mike could have another baby. I think Catherine and William are done. I think Harry and Meghan are done. I mean, they said they weren't going to have, I think, any more than two children. So I think they're probably done. Um, Maybe Beatrice and Eugenie could have another royal baby at some point. I think the most likely candidates are Zara and Mike, and of course Beatrice and Eugenie at some point, but we don't know. Beverly says, I love watching Edward on Crown and Country. That's the one I'm watching. I couldn't remember the name. It is Crown and Country. There are many episodes. And of course, when I looked back and watched them, I haven't seen those ones before. I actually think Edward did a very good job of presenting, and the information and the level of access that he was able to get, of course, was really good. But it was an experiment. It was an early experiment in technically, a child of a monarch, a senior royal, going into the world of independence and sort of having your own production company and making your own way in the world. Now it didn't work out for Edward, although I think he produced really good pieces of work. There were a few faux pas along the way, as we know. It's a royal knockout being, I think, one of the nails in the coffin, but he produced good content, which is something that Harry and Meghan have actually failed to do. Whereas, I joke about Harry and Meghan not being able to produce a bowl of cornflakes. Well, actually, Prince Edward did manage to produce some really good content. So there's a bit of a difference there. But it didn't work out. So a lot of people that, the Sussex squad who call out double standards, well, Prince Edward, made TV. The fact is, it didn't work. It didn't work out. And that was with producing good content. So Harry and Meghan producing poor, substandard, ridiculous content is also not going to work, which is why Her Late Majesty, Prince Charles as he was, and William were really against Harry and Meghan going out there and doing what they're doing now with using the HRHs, the royal titles, the styles, and having that royal connection because Prince Edward had already been there. He was basically the crash test dummy. Um, and and yeah, it didn't work out. And he, found that he was much better suited to actually being a working royal. It was in him to do that. So there is a very distinct difference between, Harry and Meghan and Prince Edward's venture, but there is also a similarity in the fact that it didn't work. It wasn't a success. And I think that's definitely the way that we're headed with Harry and Meghan. Kathleen says, if Harry and Meghan are so hyped on security, why are they going to a country that the US State Department has deemed dangerous? Well, it's all a load of waffle, isn't it, my loves? We all know that their reluctance, or Harry's reluctance, to bring his family or bring Meghan to the UK because of security, it's a complete load of nonsense. They're making it up because they want to be internationally protected people, and it's just not going to happen. Harry is not going to get guaranteed, dedicated security every time he comes to the UK. At the moment, as I've said before, what they are doing is providing it on a case-by-case basis. Harry has to inform them that he's coming. They decide whether or not he needs a police escort from the airport to wherever he's staying, but it is not guaranteed. And Harry wants the guarantee of being like an internationally protected person, which is a status that, of course, Megsy baby, would revel in. Meghan being an internationally protected person, sits beautifully with her ego, doesn't it? But yes, so the invitation to go to Nigeria, of course, is as private individuals. But this is where the water gets muddied. And again, why Harry and Meghan cannot use their HRHs, because there are blurred lines. Harry and Meghan, well, Harry was a senior working royal. Meghan, by marriage, was for a short time a senior working royal, which are representatives of the United Kingdom, and known all over the Commonwealth. So to then sort of be invited in the way that they are, and then make it so public, that's the bit that is a bit of a slap in the face. It's almost like they want, they're being flattered. They're sort of flattering themselves, or they're enjoying that kind of sort of level of attention. Now, there's nothing wrong with Meghan going over to Nigeria. I think she did a test and found out that she is 43% Nigerian, of origin. There is nothing wrong with Meghan going over on a private visit, learning about her cultural heritage background. Nothing wrong with that, but you don't need to make a big song and dance about it as a private individual. It's not an official royal tour. And make no mistake about it, people in Britain do not think that it is a sort of faux royal tour. But what we do think is that Harry and Meghan are thinking about it like a faux royal tour. You can guarantee that they will be having their photographers there. They'll take them along with them. You can guarantee that probably Netflix cameras will be along for the jaunt. So it's not really a private endeavor. It is most definitely to make money, and for them to feel important. And like I said in a previous video, the last time I think sort of an ex-working royal was invited to a country on a sort of private basis was, of course, Edward and Wallace when they were invited by Adolf Hitler to sort of Nazi Germany. I think it was 1936 or 1937, before everything kicked off in the way that it did. But they were invited, and of course, it flattered Wallace Simpson's ego. And of course, Edward was delighted to have been invited because he could sort of give Wallace that status that she felt that she needed or wanted or craved. And it's the same thing with Meghan repeating itself. Now, I'm not comparing modern day Nigeria to Nazi Germany. Let's get that straight, because someone in the comments said, "Are you comparing it?" No, I am not comparing it. What I'm saying is the invitation of the ex-working royals is comparable. Um, and I suppose that level of wanting to be flattered is comparable. That ego, that drive for the ego is very comparable. And I think that's what they are getting out of it. Now, of course, what Nigeria want is to host an upcoming Invictus Games. So that's what they want out of it. And I think they're not concerned over whose toes they step on to get there. It is a bit of a diplomatic nightmare. They have got to be careful not to sort of step on and ruin relations with Britain. So, you know, it is a very delicate situation. It depends how Harry and Meghan are going to handle it when they are there. Are they going to behave sort of, properly, or are they going to be very, flamboyant all over the place, Netflix cameras everywhere, photographers everywhere? Are they finally going to flaunt their children for cash and all the rest of it? We don't know. It's going to be a soap opera. And you know what? I am here for watching every moment of it because I think it's going to be an absolute SH1T show. Carissa says, "I'm so tired of hearing about Harry and Meghan." Oh, I know, it's so droll. Gregory says, "At least you didn't say I am 43% Martian." Oh, you get a fan flap for that one. Do you know what? Maybe she is Martian. Who knows? Christine thinks that there's more to this trip than meets the eye. I think a lot of it, I think Nigeria do want to host the Invictus Games. And I think one of the ways they think that they can get it is to woo Harry. and flatter him and flatter his wife, which I think is probably going to work. I think Harry will probably end up hosting one of the future Invictus Games in Nigeria. It's probably going to work because they are rather gullible. But who knows? There could be more than meets the eye. I certainly think there's a certain element of winding up the establishment. I'm meaning the royal family and the British government. Of course, Harry has suffered a loss to the British government. They have won in terms of not providing him with the police protection that he deserves. So I think there's a little bit of trying to get revenge on the establishment. I think Harry and Meghan will try and make the biggest mountain out of this molehill that they possibly can. And I think it's a dig at the monarchy and the government as well. So I think it's a little bit of from Harry's side, sort of saying, look what we can do. Look what we can do. Look what trouble we can cause. And I think Nigeria has sort of played into that mindset for Harry. We all look at that and we just laugh because it's completely laughable. We can see straight through it, and I can give a couple of zaps of the laser for that one. We can see straight through it. It's very transparent. But I think that is what is going on in Harry's mind, if that makes sense. Missy says, might this trip be the last straw where Parliament steps in as they are pretending to be royal? I have said, and I will reiterate, I think you are correct. There will be a point where they push too far and then someone snaps. Doesn't necessarily have to be King Charles and William that do the snapping. If they push and poke and prod the government too much, that could, push Parliament into debating something that might not be in Harry and Meghan's favour. I'm talking, of course, about maybe stripping titles, styles, or even removal from the line of succession if they go too far. I don't think we are there at this point. There hasn't been any talk of that within the Parliament, but push too far. I don't know where that line would be. I don't know, but if they keep pushing, they could find themselves having pushed too far. Katruna says it would be easier to get good press if they behaved well. Well, of course, don't forget that we had that big setup pantomime of the. Do you remember when they were on the? I think it was it the Australasia tour, where they had incredibly good press. They had amazing press. In fact, there had been a sea change in how the media was reporting on Harry and Meghan. They had glowing reports coming back from that tour, but yet they still set up this ridiculous sort of, Meghan, are you okay? And then she bursts out, into all of her woes, displaying them for all and sundry. And then shortly after, they run off for 6, 7, 8 weeks to Canada to recover from the horrors of Britain. And then, of course, we have their, if you like, Megxit abdication from their royal duties. So they left. My point is, they left at a time when the press was favourable to them. So they can't really justify leaving with, oh, the press were treating us so badly. At the time that they chose to leave, they were being treated extremely well by the press. They had all good reports at that time. I know because I was there also reporting and commenting on what was being done. I've been around, remember, next year will be my 10th anniversary on YouTube. So I've been here through all of it. I've seen everything. I've experienced all the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows and the shocks and the clutching of my pearls at all of it. So I remember it well. They were treated really good at that time, but yet they still chose to leave. I think if they had continued, like you said, to just behave, get on with things, carry on in the way that they were, I think all of their troubles with the press that they perceived, perhaps would have been over. I think they had ridden the storm at that point. But then they went and provoked and pushed and did what they did, and the rest is history. Carissa says, I read somewhere that Carol and Michael Middleton got a title. That is not correct, and that is not true. I have no idea where you've heard that from. I imagine it's one of these clickbaity social media accounts. But no, that is not true. They may do in the future, but they have not at the moment. Marcia says, stripping rank from Henry would be ideal. Then he'd come by just Harry. Um, I am torn, as you know. I've said many times between the removal of titles. There is a bigger picture, and the bigger picture is the ongoing survival of the monarchy. That is more important than Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan are little tiny, pimples on this sort of big, massive over 1,000 years of monarchy. They are a blip, and they will be a footnote in history in years to come. That being said, like I said, I think push too hard and they could find themselves out. But I think that to turn monarchy into Big Brother, where you can vote people in or out depending on whether you like them or not, basically a popularity contest, does it harms the very essence of a constitutional hereditary monarchy. The hereditary part is that you get what you're given. We have had monarchs in the past. I mean, I'm talking monarchs in the past that people have not necessarily liked. And sometimes there have been rebellions, sometimes there have been wars, and monarchs have been overthrown, and all the rest of it. So we have over 1,000 years of history. Harry and Meghan are very minute in the grand picture, and I wouldn't want to see um, Harry and Meghan being removed from the line of succession, etc., if that meant to destabilizing the monarchy and sort of, because if you go down the avenue of picking and choosing, you're very much going down the avenue of having an elected president. And for those people that are concerned with preserving the monarchy, I think protecting the monarchy at all costs is more important. So, as much as we would love Harry and Meghan not to be in the line of succession, it could have a detrimental effect. But if they push too far, it could have very, very popular support. I think the time to strike with Harry and Meghan would be if they did something so horrendous, so inexcusably unacceptable that the whole of the British public were like, it's too far. It's too far, push. Now, we had that, not from the public, but from the government and the upper echelons of society with Edward VIII. They said, it's too much, you've got to go. He abdicated. And the monarchy survived because the public accepted that that was the right thing to do at that time. If something similar happens, we could see that again. So you've got to be very, very careful. This has got to play out in the correct way. Do you get what I'm saying? Let's have a look. Jennifer says, I really love Princess Anne. I think that she is great. She is indeed. Katruna says, I'm so glad that the Princess Royal is able to wear uniform trousers. Yes, and of course, there have been modern concessions to modern standards and values, and that is indeed one of them. Right, King Charles was back at work. He returned to public-facing royal duties with, of course, Queen Camilla by his side. They visited a cancer centre, so something very, current going on in his life. I think he was able to visit this time with a real understanding and solidarity with the patients that he was meeting. So it looked like he had a real confidence, he had a real spring in his step to be back. I think Queen Camilla sort of joked that she had to literally hold him back whilst he was recuperating. I would say he's looking he's got a little bit more colour back in his face. I think over the past few times that we've seen him, in the car or whatever, he looked a little bit pale, but I think he's getting a bit more colour. Sausage fingers are back. I mean, during his treatment, the sausage fingers seemed to reduce quite a bit, but I saw video clips. Those sausage fingers are most definitely sausaging. So they're back, which kind of tells me that when he was on the treatment, we think some form of chemo for the cancer, that may have sort of helped swelling in the fingers, and his fingers did look a lot more reduced. So seeing as the sausage fingers are back, I would go out on a limb to probably say that he has finished or completed his treatment. Maybe he's on a bit of a break from it. I don't know whether he has to have round two or anything of that nature. But the sausage fingers are back, and that to me is an indication that perhaps he has finished the treatment that he's on. So maybe he's more advanced in the treatment than what we have been led to believe. That's just me using my brain and looking at what I can see. So I will say that is my own speculation. I don't know if I am true and correct on that one. We'll have to wait and see. But sausage fingers are back. He was wearing his T-Rex tie. Now we all know that when he wears his T-Rex tie, things get sassy. So if the king meant business, I'm going to give that T-Rex tie most definitely a green fan flap. So I love his T-Rex tie. It's so sort of, it shows his sense of humor. And I wonder who got him the T-Rex tie. I wonder if it was a family present. Maybe it was from William and Catherine. I don't know. Maybe it was a coronation present. But when he gets that T-Rex tie out, he means business. So he was out, I think, to meet people, to speak to them about their treatment, to explore what's going on in that cancer treatment centre, but also, to sort of have a good time as well. This was the first in-person public engagement, apart from that brief one at Windsor, that he's had since before Christmas. So yeah, this was monumental for him. I think he did really well. Queen Camilla looked really incredible as well. I always love how she handles herself in these situations. They both kind of split off and sort of met different people within the hospital, staff, patients. There seemed to be a really good rapport between everyone. So it was a very good first engagement back. Meghan's cooking show. Supposedly, it's going to be filmed on a cannabis farm. So I haven't actually delved into this story much, but anyway, so it's the Carpinteria neighborhood. Farm Lane, a cannabis farming business owned by the Van Wingerden family, never heard of them, is one of the biggest purveyors of legally produced pot in Carpinteria, California. So Meghan will be using the property owned by the Van Wingerden's, whatever they are, Wingerden's. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, to film her upcoming Netflix cooking show. Maybe she'll be using some of the leaves in her cooking. What if she adds it to her jam? She'll be off her tits. My goodness. Meghan Markle will no doubt ooze a glossy image of a groomed, elegant. Oh, who writes this drivel? A glossy image of groomed elegance. My goodness. I'm going to give this article a big, massive red fan flap right from the start. Anyway, I'm sure she'll be wearing something baggy and wrinkled. But the Duchess, accompanied by a 50-strong film crew. 50 strong? Is that how many it takes to put all that Vaseline on the lens to make it so blurry? May be struck by more than just the aroma of fresh-baked goodies as she showcases her kitchen skills. We've all seen her kitchen skills rabidly mixing in a bowl. That's because one of the there's two shooting locations chosen for Meghan's show is a 14-acre cannabis farm. Well, maybe she can do it from the depths of the ocean instead. I think that would be more appropriate. So apparently production is already underway. So unfortunately, we are going to be subjected to some kind of Meghan cooking show coming very, very soon. So yeah, the owners of the £5 million home are philanthropists Tom and Sherry Kippeler. But the farm chosen as the second shooting location is mired in controversy as its owners have created a stink with neighbours over their fragrant cash crop. Oh my goodness gracious me. So anyway, I'm not going to read the rest of that drivel. It's underway. We are going to be subjected to a Meghan thing. I don't know. I don't know. Canetta says, "Oh, your Highgrove order has come in. The jam is delicious. Ooh, I'll give King Charles's jam a massive green fan flap for that one. Yes, I'm so glad and pleased that you got your jam." Canetta says she'll be wearing the latest burlap bag dress for her cooking show. Oh, I'm sure she'll be dressed up in some kind of flouncy outfit. She'll be looking she'll be trying to look all ethereal. Kathy says 50 people to help her cook. Goodness grief. Oh my goodness. It's terrible, isn't it? Have I missed anything else that I want to talk about? Oh, yes. William is reported to not want to meet Harry when Harry is over for the St. Paul's Invictus service for the 10-year anniversary. So we are not expecting to see a reunited, brothers meeting. I think most of the royals will be avoiding Harry like the plague. So yes, to touch on that really briefly, basically, William is not going to be meeting up with Harry. There was one other story, one of the unlucky 50 that Meghan sent her rotten jam to. Garcile Beauvais, hope I've made pronounced that name correctly, made a jibe at our lovely Catherine for missing Lilibet's first birthday, I do believe. So I think this is a bit of a rehash of an old story, but Meghan has been sending her jam to people who have known to be anti William and Catherine. So apparently, I've never seen her. She's a real Housewives of Beverly Hills um, cast member. She lives in North Ridge, which is an 80-minute drive from Montecito, has previously spoken about the royal family feud and opened up about her thoughts on the Prince and Princess of Wales. Garcelle said it was a very shady thing for the future king and queen to miss their niece Lilibet's first birthday when she celebrated it at Frogmore Cottage in 2022 during the late Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. Now, on that day, William and Catherine were in Wales representing the Queen by overseeing concert rehearsals at Cardiff Castle, joined by George and Charlotte, who undertook their first official royal walkabout. So, how on earth could it be shady when they are doing their duty from the Queen? Let's not forget that all of these royal engagements are long planned. And William and Catherine are not going to skip a long planned royal engagement at the behest of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth just so they can be there to have a little bit of Meghan's jam for Lilibet's birthday. Absolutely not. So I'm going to give this Garcile, whatever her name is, a big, massive red fan flap from me. Who does she think she is, honestly? It's all terrible. And these are the sorts of people, influencers, that Meghan's sending all the jam to. My goodness. It's ridiculous. It really is. Thank you, Lauren, for saying I look fabulous. Right, I think that's it. I'm going to go now. I'm disgusted by that Garcile person. Have a fantastic week, and I bid you all farewell. So, mwah to you all, and goodbye.